Welcome back to not my series, because this is just me talking. So, what does it mean to be cool? Because I think cool in itself, it's kind of subjective. Like, there's no correct term on what it truly means to be cool. But I'm going to give you my definition from how I felt growing up and not fitting that description. So, to me, when I was young, being cool meant like you are very outgoing. People like to be around you. You have a lot of friends. People can feel when you're not there. People miss you. Like you generally have such a large presence. And I don't know, like you just have this like infectious energy that everyone just wants to be around you. Like everybody likes you, which is kind of like the complete opposite of what I was growing up. And when I say everybody likes you, maybe not everybody likes you, but like a good majority of people really just like you for some reason. You just have this like infectious like energy where like people just always want to be around you. Like you are being cool, like it surpasses looks. It's not even about like being attractive anymore. Like people just like you could look disgusting, but for some reason because you're like cool, everybody just likes you. I don't know what it is, right? You're just like this like magnet for people, and you're just so accepted. And that's something that I never really felt growing up. I saw the difference in between how people would treat me versus how people would treat the people that I perceived as cool. So when you're not cool, I guess you're essentially like an outcast. And I'm using the words like cool very loosely because I don't know exactly like what to call it or how to like title this like video. Like I'm really just like rambling and stuff. And I do understand that a lot of these opinions are really just me like projecting my own insecurities onto other people. This isn't like I'm very well aware of like what this video is. Like I know exactly why I was feeling these feelings. It's mostly because I just felt an insecurity within myself, and I was like, why am I not accepted the way that other people are? So for me, if you are accepted, you are automatically cool. Maybe you might not fit all the descriptions that I mentioned like earlier about like having all these friends, being this like magnet for people. In my mind, when I was young, anyone that was the exact opposite of me was cool, because I guess I hated myself, but I don't anymore. But when I did hate myself, being attractive and being cool, in my eyes, they're not the same. Because people who are attractive aren't always cool. And I know this because when I was young, I wasn't very attractive. Like I just wasn't. And only when I was like in like late stages of high school going on to university, that's when I started to feel like, wow, like I'm really pretty. Like I started to feel like a glow up, and I started to feel the difference in which people would treat me. And the reason why I say being attractive versus being cool are not always the same and not always like, what's the word? There's a word. They're not always. People wanted to be around me more now. Like people wanted to talk to me, and I was like, wow, like I'm finally cool. Like people like me now. But people would want to be around me because they thought that I was like pretty. But once they got to know my personality, like I could feel the shift in how they treated me before versus like after. Like I would see how before they were like so eager to like know me and see like and be around me, but now that they know my personality and I'm not as like outgoing, or I'm not very like cool, and I'm not very like I'm just not this like fun girl that people expect me to be because of my looks, then I could kind of feel people kind of being more like distant towards me. Not like overtly, like people wouldn't say, hey, now that I see that you're actually not that cool, I don't want to be around you. It wasn't even like that. I would just see that people weren't as like excited to speak to me the way that they were before, which is good because you shouldn't be friends with people based on like how they look. And it's such an Aquarius thing to be like, oh, I don't fit in, like nobody gets me. But it's true, like no one really gets me for real, like nobody gets me. I started to see that, okay, it's my personality now. Like, it's not even about me being, like, pretty. Like, I thought that now that I am pretty, I'm going to have all these friends. When I started to see that people were rejecting me, essentially, because of my personality, I thought to myself, okay, maybe I need to be more outgoing. Maybe I need to try to, like, change myself. So sometimes I would, like, observe the way that cool people would act. And I tried to act that way. And it just wouldn't translate very well because, again, I'm not being myself. And also because for some reason, like, when you are inherently misunderstood, like, regardless, people, even if you say something funny, even if you say something that someone else could have said, they could have said the same thing. For some reason, when it comes from you, it's just not, like, people just don't receive it well. Because sometimes I would make a joke or I would make, like, a statement that someone else said, maybe not so long ago. So they said something similar. But for some reason, when it's coming from me, it's just like, oh, haha. Regardless of whether I try to be something that I'm not or whether I'm trying to be myself, I'm never really going to be accepted. Like, I'm always going to feel like an outcast. And when you feel this way for so long, you kind of like accept the fact that, okay, maybe I'm just meant to be understood. And once you come to that realization, I think there is a sense of like freedom now because I don't strive to have a lot of friends. I don't strive to be the life of the party anymore. I don't strive to, you know, just to be the cool, fun girl. Like, I just don't strive for that anymore. And it's very, like, freeing accepting the fact that you will always be misunderstood, and that's okay. Like, not everyone is gonna get it. Majority of people are not gonna get it. But as long as you get it, it's okay. You kind of feel like a gray area. Like, even when you are trying to be around people, trying to put yourself out there, you're always just gonna be this gray area that no one gets it, no one understands it. Like, people just like tolerate you because you're there. And I forgot to mention that with feeling like an outsider, feeling like you constantly don't belong, you are automatically like invisible. You're invisible, no one notices you, and you're essentially just like this background character that no one really like cares about. Like, as much as you try to like integrate yourself into these groups, into like new people and like trying to put yourself out there, like it just feels like people can kind of feel that there's something like inherently wrong with you, and because of that you will never fully be able to belong or to even be like noticed, because it just feels like, I don't know, like everyone just has it's just very weird towards you. And when you constantly feel rejected in these social dynamics, it can also cause you to kind of like shy away from social interactions in general, because you know what's going to happen. You know you're not going to be accepted. You know that you're going to be the outsider essentially, and most of your social interactions never really go well. So you just feel like, what's the point of even putting yourself out there in the first place? So a lot of the times when I'm in groups, especially with groups that I don't really know, I'm very like reserved and I'm very like quiet, and I'm just constantly trying to like keep up with the conversation, and I'm trying to find a way to like integrate myself or to find a way to, you know, add to the conversation. Like, I'm constantly having like a million thoughts at once. So there was this one time where I was in a group and I was having that like dilemma of trying to figure out, okay, should I say something? Like, should I say something now? Like, I'm trying to, you know, be present in the group, but I'm also trying to like engage with everyone. And you know what one person said? One person looked at me and was like, oh my God, she's been here the whole time. And then everyone laughed. And then that person continued to say that, yeah, that's just how invisible she is. And I don't think I've ever been that disrespected in my life. So, but of course, I was a people pleaser and I didn't do anything about it. So I just like, haha, yeah, I am invisible. And I have met a lot of introverted people. And whenever I meet introverts, I do have a little bit of initial excitement because I'm like, oh, I'm going to meet someone who's like me. But what I've realized that even the people who are introverted, some of them still have a lot of friends. Some of them still have kind of this like social capital that I will just never like possess. People still want to be around them. And what I realize is that like I am kind of, I'm not even like, I'm on like a different tier. Just because I'm misunderstood or just because people don't really get me doesn't mean that now everyone's better than me and I'm like lower than them. I'm not saying that. But I've just realized that like even with people who I think would be similar to me because we're both introverts, they're still on a higher like social capital than me. I hope I'm using social capital right. They still kind of fit that cool criteria even though they're introverted. And that started to make me feel like, okay, so is it just me who feels like a loser 24/7 or like even with the people who I think I'm like, the universe just finds a way to show me that actually no, you're a little bit like you kind of need to learn to accept yourself and hope that the universe will bring you your people. And sometimes it's going to take a long time. And even when the universe does bring you your people, they will not come in large amounts, unfortunately. It'll always be like a small dose of people here and there, but it's not going to be this big friendship group that you dreamed of when you were like 12. When you start to feel bad about the fact that you're not fitting in, that you're like the weird girl, no one really likes you, use that to fuel your God complex that you're better than everyone. That's why no one gets you. It's because your mindset is just so like out of this world that like simple-minded people could never get it. And it's crazy because even with this account, right? When I was younger, I never felt understood. Every time I'd open my mouth, I would just feel so fucking stupid. I would feel like no one gets it. Everyone is just constantly rejecting me. I always feel like whatever I say, people are just never gonna get it. And now I've kind of built a platform on people feeling seen by me, which is so crazy because like my whole life I've always just felt like, oh, I'm always gonna be lonely. No one's gonna understand me. No one's gonna get how I feel. But now there's like 50,000 of you being like, oh my God, girl, I feel so seen. Like, girl, like you get it. Like, and I'm like, where were you guys when I was growing up? I just always felt like this gray area, this other that no one wants to deal with. So the fact that now I'm growing like a community of people who understand how I feel is really just so crazy. And it just kind of shows that like, yes, it is corny, but when people do say that the right people will gravitate towards you, so they ate when they said that. They really ate when they said that because like the right people will find you eventually. You're gonna meet people who really do understand you, whether it's online or whether it's in real life. But either way, the universe is gonna send you your community. But for now, you just kind of have to accept yourself and build yourself and not always take this rejection as a personal attack on yourself or on your personality. You are good enough, and just because you are this gray area, that's okay. You can find beauty in it. You don't always have to feel bad about it just because people don't always get you. Also, being like the awkward black girl, being like the black girl that just doesn't really fit in, I think I find so much beauty in that now, especially seeing women like Issa Rae, like Quinta Brunson, and like Ira Debris, like seeing black women just being so awkward and kind of not fitting the cool criteria. That really just brings me so much joy, and just seeing how like universally like loved they are and how they've just found so much like success, like embracing their personality. I think seeing people like that, especially in the media, really does like make a difference, especially for someone like me who's also like a black woman. So seeing black girls who are similar to me, having like the spotlight, being so universally loved and just like being themselves, not caring about like what other people think. I love that so much because it just further goes to show that like the people who get it, they're gonna get it. Like you just need to be yourself and allow yourself to like blossom and just accept yourself, because you're gonna find people who accept you as well. And even if they don't, like that's okay. But I just need you to understand that like you don't always have to fit this criteria or this mold that maybe other people expect you to be, that maybe society wants you to be, that you are so much more than that. So now that I'm older, my idea or my version of being cool is not even the way that I viewed it when I was younger. Now, like, I fully embrace the fact that I am different, the fact that people are not always going to get me, the fact that I'm not always going to have friends. Like, I really start to embrace that now, and I don't really care anymore. Like, whoever is watching this, I hope that you will also free yourself from feeling constantly rejected and feeling like you're never gonna fit in or you're never gonna be somebody. You actually are more amazing than you think or believe. Stop wanting to be cool because you already are.